Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know you've had kind of a hectic schedule so far. So,
Not at all.
Season 11, that's a big thing to be doing.
Season 11, who'd have thunk it?
I know, after this many years, what do you think you've learned about yourself in doing this?
My limit of energy as I get older, I've sort of learned. It's interesting though. Like it's crazy because it's such a fun show to work on, and we've got excellent story producers and researchers who do a lot of work before we ever go on the road, and then myself and the writers will write jokes before even we get on the plane. But once you're there, boots on the ground, everything sort of changes on the fly, and you realize you maybe misunderstood something about the town, or as you're getting it all sorted out, it happens over those. So it used to be 5 days, and now it's 6 days, which gives me an extra writing day, and it gives the crew an extra day to set up the venue, which is great now because we're starting to do slightly bigger towns. So sometimes we have bigger venues which need a lot of like chairs and the stage set up and bleachers and all kinds of stuff. But you're always trying to streamline the process. And every time I come up with a new idea, at first I feel kind of dumb because I think season 11, why did it take this long to realize the best way of doing X, Y, and Z is this way? But really, I suppose with any production or any workplace, I suppose, if you're not coming up with newer, better ways, then, maybe it should, I guess it should always be an ongoing process,
Yeah, constant growth.
Yeah.
This is just so uniquely Canadian in the way that you do highlight these places that aren't often talked about, but you bring your comedy to it, of course. So I'm wondering, did it teach you anything about your sense of humor and getting to watch these communities kind of react to what Canadian comedy really means?
Yeah, I think I was really fortunate to get the gig. Like a lot of people think I created the show, but I didn't. CBC found this idea. They were at an international TV expo, and there was a guy in Denmark who was going around coastal Denmark doing a similar thing. And they thought, okay, that could work in Canada. And so I was considered, I was on a short list, and eventually I got the gig. But I remember like getting the call from my agent who said, you're being considered for this show from what I understand of it. And he sort of explained in 2 sentences the concept of the show. And immediately I thought, there's nothing else I'd rather do. And it's really been that way. It's sort of, knock on wood, it's a dream job. When the whole team, when we're all doing it right, when I'm on the ball and everyone else is, and the edits are good, there's nothing in the world I'd rather be doing. As far as the sense of humor, I think it sort of made sense. I had done a few of the festivals, the CBC festivals, like in Halifax and Winnipeg, and I think like maybe coming up through from a theater background, not a comedy club background, then my material was like, I remember when I first moved to Toronto and I'd go do an opening spot at Yuck Yucks, and it's like some of the stuff is pretty hardcore, pretty explicit, and I thought a little bit like, oh, is my stuff too sort of, I'm going to go out and do jokes about my cat or how my dad was a philosophy professor, but I think it's like, that was a good thing. It's like, my stuff is not too, the show tries to strike a balance between sauciness and respect and boosterism. And I think that's sort of naturally where my sense of humor goes. So I think that's a good fit.
Definitely. And I mean, there's so many great Canadian comedians, but also Canadian talent. So I'm wondering, if we had to throw a curveball for a possible next season, who would you want a co-host or someone to be that tags along with you on these journeys?
Oh my God, that's an excellent question. We haven't really had there's been a couple of times where maybe like a celebrity guest would have, we were in Chemainus, British Columbia on Vancouver Island, and there was a woman there who runs a animal sanctuary, and not too far from there, Pamela Anderson has a home, and she had helped this place. She's a big, animal rights advocate and she'd gone to visit this animal sanctuary, and they had a barn that the woman thought was going to cost $100,000 to replace, but it was going to be $400,000, and she thought it was the end. And Pam came down and visited and gave a bunch of money. Her and her husband at the time, who I think did some of the work. And they saved this animal sanctuary. And so there was some talk about Pam being on the show, which fell through in the end. I made some joke about how when she toured the farm, she saw the goats and the pigs, but I hope she didn't see the chickens, because you don't want to let a fox in the hen house, or some kind of cheesy joke. But I think that would have been, like, I'm a fan of hers. I think that would have been fun to have her on. But yeah, maybe next season.
We'll manifest Pamela Anderson coming back,
Yeah.
but on camera this time.
Exactly.
I love that you say you kind of had to cut that joke or not use it because she wasn't there. Are there any jokes from this season that you wish made the final cut that you're still kind of sad about?
Yeah. There's always, there's a lot of jokes that don't make the cut for various reasons, just for time mostly, because usually in a set, I'll do about 40 plus minutes of material about the town. So really making the 22-minute cut of the final episode, they're only going to use 13, 14 minutes of that. So a lot of stuff ends up on the floor, which is too bad. But yeah, there's always some. But I gotta say, like, for an 8 o'clock show on CBC, they do let me away with some saucy jokes. I just saw a rerun. There was I did a joke about it was in BC. And it was about a whale researcher, and she was saying how they're monitoring these shipping lanes because humpback whales mate there. And I had a joke about, she said the males practice their singing there, the male humpback whales, because when in mating season they'll go down to the Caribbean and mate, but the males will sing to the female to attract them, and the males practice their songs, and so the noise of the shipping, they're worried about that it'll interfere with it. And I said, yeah, that would suck for the male humpback who, is trying to drum up the courage to sing to the female to win her over, and then you've got a big loud ship coming by just as he's about to free Willy, and that got a good laugh, but a bit of a ooh. And then I said, hey, listen, that was the softcore version of that joke. I was going to say a big loud ship comes along just as he's about to whip out his Moby. Didn't say that. Anyway, and the cut included both of those. So yeah, I think like CBC will let me away with a saucy joke every now and then.
Yeah, obviously you're a talented comedian, but what is the funniest thing that a local has said to you that's really stuck with you?
Oh geez, that's a good question. Yeah, I hate it when the locals are funnier than me.
They're trying to take your job.
Yeah, I remember one time we were in New Brunswick, and this guy was added to the list of people we were going to talk to for the show because we didn't know he lived there, but we found out while we were there, this famous horse jockey, he rode the horse Secretariat. and in like probably the most famous racehorse in the world, and for like 8 out of 11 of its major wins, this guy from New Brunswick who grew up riding bareback horses hauling logs in the lumber industry. But when I went in to meet him, he said, he was like, "Oh, you look taller on TV," which a lot of people, you get that a lot. And I was like, did I just get called short by a horse jockey? But also, one thing that stuck with me too is a woman who said to me, she said, in a town this small, there is no they. So when you look at problems in the town, if it's the lack of, I don't know, maybe the hockey rink is falling apart, or there's a lack of civic organized activities, or whatever, she said, there is no they. You can't say, oh, they should really do something about that. There is no they. You got to roll up your sleeves, talk to your neighbors, and get things done.
I love that.
Yeah.
My last question for you. This season, you travel a lot, obviously. There's time for you to be listening to a good soundtrack on the road. So what's a song that you would use to describe this season as a whole?
Oh my God, that's a good one. Let's say Hard Road by Sam Roberts.
Okay, not bad. Was there a playlist when you were traveling?
I'll actually do playlists for different areas that we go to with artists from that area. So, like, we were just in Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, so I had a playlist with all Joel Plaskett and Winter Sleep, and there's a little bit of April Wine, I think, is on there. And but it's very cool, actually, because then as you travel around, and then you sort of Google, well, what other artists are from this area, and so it's that sort of a neat way to you realize the magnitude of talent coming out of each area. It's pretty cool.
Your Spotify rap must have been crazy.
It's a lot of Canadian content, I gotta say, but it's so much great stuff.
I love that. Well, thank you for your time, and congratulations again.
Thanks very much.